Hey there, boys and girls, it's Mrs. Hefshin. Today, we will be reviewing area and perimeter for our checkpoint that's coming up this week. Our TEKS for today are 4.5D. Our learning goal and success criteria. Today, we will solve problems involving area and perimeter. I'll know I've got it when I can find the area and perimeter of a figure, including irregular figures, find a missing side when given the area or perimeter of a figure. Let's review a few things before we get started. Remember, the area is the amount of space a flat shape takes up. The formula that we typically use for area is length times width. Perimeter means the distance around a figure. The formula that we use is length plus width plus length plus width. Or we can say side plus side plus side plus side. What we need to remember for perimeter is that we need to add up all of the measurements around the outer edge of a figure. All right, so we're going to start simple and practice just finding area and perimeter of two figures. So let's look at this purple figure that we have here. We see that we are given the length of two sides and we need to find the area. So I see that the length is 2 units and the width is 8 units. So remember, we said that our formula for area is length times width. So what I'm going to do is multiply the length times the width, and that is going to give me 16. Very good. So the area of this purple figure is 16 square units. And remember, for area, we always use square units. So that could be square feet, square centimeters, square meters, square yards, square miles. Whatever unit we're using is going to be squared. All right, pretty simple, right? Length times width. Now, let's look at this green rectangle at the bottom. I see that the length of my rectangle is 6, and I see that the width is 3. Now, remember, for perimeter, we need all of the sides. So if you recall, we know that the opposite side of this rectangle is going to be 3, because in rectangles, opposite sides are equal. That means we can also say that this side down here has a length of 6 units. So now we know all 4 of the sides, and now we can simply add them together. So remember, we're going to do length plus width plus length plus width, and that is going to give us our total perimeter. So if I add together 6 plus 3, that's going to give me 9. So that means I know that this is 9, and when I add the two of those together, I'm going to get 18. And therefore, I know that the perimeter of the green figure is 18 units. Remember, for perimeter, it's simply units. We don't need to square those units. All right, so those are simple, just standard rectangles. Now, let's try something a little more challenging. Now we're going to find the area and perimeter of irregular figures. So we're going to start with this blue figure here. Let me change my color. All right, so I can see that this is an irregular figure. I need to find both the area and the perimeter of this figure. So we're going to go about this 2 ways. We're going to start with perimeter, even though it's asking for it second. So I see that I'm missing some of my sides. However, I can determine the size of those sides by looking at opposite sides. Remember, we said opposite sides are equal in squares and rectangles. So I know that because this bottom portion down here is a rectangle, I know that the opposite side from this is going to be the same measurement. So over here, this one's going to be 3 centimeters. Now, the bottom's a little different. I can see a long side. That long side here, I've got to figure out some missing sides. Well, here I have 4 centimeters. The opposite side of this piece, so right here, is going to be equal. Therefore, it's going to be 4 centimeters. And now I can simply add together all of the lengths on this side of my rectangle to give me the total on the other side. So 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. So I know that the length of this long side of the rectangle is going to be 10 centimeters. All right, I've got one more section that I'm missing, and it's this piece right here. Since this is a perfect rectangle or regular rectangle, I see that this side is 3 centimeters, which tells me that this side is also 3 centimeters. Now I can look around the outside of this figure and see that I have a measurement for all of the sides. So I am going to change my color here. We're going to highlight these as we add them. So now we're going to go through and we're going to add everything together. So I like to start with my biggest measurement. So I've got 10 centimeters here plus 3, that gives me 13, plus 2 more is 15, plus 3 more is, good, 18. 18 plus 4 is 22, plus 3 more is, good, 25. 4 more is 29, and we've got one more side over here. What's 29 plus 3? Very good. It is 31. Therefore, I'm sorry, 32. So therefore, over here, I can write that the perimeter of this shape is 32 centimeters. Now, we can check that by adding everything together again over on the side, just to make sure. So we have 10 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4 and 3. Okay, so let's look at those again. So we've got 10, and then here's 7 and 3 more, that's 20. Another 27 is 30, another 7, okay? And then 2 more is 32. So yes, we were correct. The perimeter of this figure is 32 centimeters. All right, I'm going to give you a second to write all that down. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to, and then I'm going to clear it so that we can find the area of this shape. I don't want to erase it before you get it though. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and erase these little highlights that I did here. I guess I'll have to go back. Let me just clear everything and I'll go back in and write all of that. All right, now I want to go back here and divide this rectangle here for our area. Okay, so remember we said that when we find the area, we multiply length times width, correct? Well, that's going to be a little different when we're looking at an irregular shape. So I drew this line back right here so that you can see I have split this shape into 2 shapes. Because with area, we've got to multiply length times width, I can only have 1 length and 1 width that I multiply. If I look at all of these measurements here, I've got a lot more measurements than that. So I'm going to take this apart and find the area of both of these figures that I divided it into. And then I'm going to take those 2 areas and I'm going to put them back together. So I'm going to come back down here. Remember we said that this was 10 centimeters. Okay, that way I've got a length down there. All right, so let me make my thing a little bit larger. Okay, so here I have 3 centimeters and 4 centimeters. So in order to find the area of this shape, I'm going to do area equals length plus, nope, length times width. Losing my mind there. Let me erase that. All right, so here I'm going to do length times width. And if the length of my rectangle is 4 and the width is 3, that is telling me that the area of this top rectangle is 12 square centimeters. So that is this one here, okay? Now I have to find the area of the bottom rectangle. So I've got 3 and 10. So again, using length times width, I'm going to do 10 times 3, and that's going to give me 30 square centimeters. 30. So now I've got two partial areas that I need to add together. So I'm going to take these two right here, and I'm going to add 12 plus 30. 2 plus 0 is 2, and 1 plus 3 is 4. And therefore, the area of this entire figure is going to be 42 square centimeters. Okay? Make sense? All right, good. Let's try one more together. So here I have another irregular figure that we are going to use. And we're going to, again, find the area and the perimeter of this figure. So here again, I'm missing two sides of my figure. So I need to determine the length of those sides. So I am going to take this rectangle and split it like this. We're going to pretend that that's a really straight line, okay? All right. And I am going to attempt to determine the missing sides. So I'm going to start here. I see that this whole long side is 7 centimeters. So if I look at the opposite side, right? So think about like a little dotted line right here. I see that part of it is 4. So I have to think, what is left over from 7 if I've used up 4 here? Well, 7 minus 4 is 3. Excellent. So that tells me that this little side over here is also going to be 3 centimeters. Now, again, my bottom section, or my bottom length is 7 centimeters as well. If I look up here, I see that this portion of the rectangle is 3 centimeters. Therefore, if I take 3 away from 7, it tells me that this portion up here is going to be 4 centimeters. Okay, so now that I have all of my missing sides, I can go ahead and do my work. So I am going to use one color for perimeter and then another for area. All right, so we've got 4, 7, 7, 3, 3, and 4. And remember, for perimeter, I have to add all of those together. So let's see, we've got 7 and 7, 3 and 3, and 4 and 4. I'm going to add those together. I know that 7 and 3 is 10, so I'm going to do that 2 times and get 20. Very good. And then 4 plus 4 is 8. So I've got 20 up here, 8 down here. That tells me I have a total of 28. What's my unit? Very good. It is centimeters. Excellent. Okay. Now I'm going to change my color and we are going to find the area. Remember, when I have an irregular figure, I've got to cut that shape so that I have 2 regular shapes. So either squares or rectangles. And that way I only have 1 length and 1 width to multiply for both. All right, so I'm going to look at this top one up here. I've got 4 by 4. That tells me that this shape is a what? Very good. It is a square, because if both the length and the width are 4, that means that all of the sides are equal. Very good. So since area equals length times width, I'm going to multiply 4 times 4, and that is going to give me 16 square centimeters. So that is for this, that's really terrible. That is for this rectangle at the top. Okay, or I'm sorry, square at the top. All right, so up here. Now I'm going to find the area of the bottom rectangle. So for this one, I'm going to use this measurement, because remember, this 7 right here tells me this entire side. I don't need the entire side for my bottom rectangle. So I'm going to use this side over here and then the length down here. And therefore, I'm multiplying 7 times 3 for the bottom rectangle. And what is 7 times 3? Very good. It is 21 square centimeters. Now remember, I now have 2 partial areas. So I'm going to take those 2 and I'm going to add them together. And that is going to give me a grand total of, are you doing it? Are you trying? Very good. I hope you got 37. So that means that the area of this shape is 37 square centimeters. Excellent job there, boys and girls. So that is how we find area and perimeter of irregular figures. All right, I have one more thing that I want to talk to you about today, and that's finding the missing side. Now, sometimes we are going to face problems that ask us to find a missing side if the area is already given. So we can see here in this shape that we already know the area, but we don't know the width of this shape. We know the length, not the width. So what we're going to have to do when we face a problem like this is we have to work backwards. So if you remember, the formula for area is length times width. Well, if I know that the area is 54 square feet, and I know that the length is 9, but I don't know the width, I have to use the inverse operation. That's how I work backwards. So instead of multiplying here, I'm going to have to divide. So I'm going to take that grand total that I have of 54 square feet, and I'm going to divide it by 9, the one side that I do have. And the answer to that is going to be the missing side. So we can think, what times 9 equals 54? Have you been practicing your math facts? I hope you have. And if you have been, then you will know that 6 times 9 equals 54. And therefore, we know that our missing side over here is going to be 6 feet. Okay? So that is how we go about finding a missing side in area. Instead of multiplying, we're going to divide, or we're going to work backwards. All right, let's try that same thing, but in perimeter. So again, sometimes we will find ourselves where we know the perimeter, but we do not know one of the sides. So we know that 26 is our perimeter here, but we need to figure out what this side is here. Remember that for perimeter, we add all of the sides together. So here, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to add together all of the sides that we do know. And then what's the inverse operation of addition? Did you say subtraction? Very good. So yeah, we're going to take that total that we do have, we're going to subtract it from the perimeter, and what's left over is going to be that one side that we're missing. So let's try that. We have 5 plus 5 plus 4 plus 4. Well, I know that 5 plus 5 is 10, and I know that 4 plus 4 is 8. And so when I add those together, what am I going to get? Very good, 18 yards. Now, 18 yards is not my answer. Remember, that's part of the perimeter. We now need to find what is left. So I'm going to take my total perimeter, and I'm going to subtract the measurement of all the sides that I do have. Remember, I must regroup when my top digit is smaller than my bottom digit. So this is going to give me a 16 here, and when I subtract 16 minus 8, I'm going to get 8. 1 minus 1 is 0, so I don't need to put that there. So that tells me that the missing side here is 8 yards. And I can check myself by adding all the sides together to make sure they equal that perimeter. Well, I already added the 4 that were given to me. So if I add that extra 8 that I just found, that's going to give me 26. And I see that that does in fact match the perimeter I was given. So I know that I am right. Very good. So boys and girls, that is how we find the missing side when we're given either the area or the perimeter. All right. I hope that you took some excellent notes today. Remember that you can use those for your assignment. It will be following this video. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to contact your teacher. Good luck. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.